This is the Overdue Homework Podcast.
Welcome to the show. That's Trav. I'm Drew.
And I'm Trav.
This is the Overdue Homework Podcast, and we are here to give you our opinions on 80s and 90s media. Please contact us. Please at Overdue Homework at Overdue Homework Podcast at gmail.com. Trav, how are you doing?
Pretty good. It's the running theme for me doing these on my day off. But
It's the best. It's the best.
How about you, Drew?
I am really, really good. We talked about this shortly before we actually started the show, but I've been drinking lots of Body Armor lately, and props to them for filling their bottles as full as they possibly can. But every time you open the bottle of Body Armor, it spills on my pants. So
Looking like you wet yourself.
yes.
Miles Davis over here.
Miles Davis over here. So thanks, Body Armor, but no thanks.
But no thanks.
But I love you, Body Armor, if you're listening out
They've
there.
got like the opposite deal as Frito-Lay with chips bags.
Yep. Which Fritos used to always be like the go-to because you knew the bag was going to be completely chock full of Fritos.
Yeah.
It's just not the case anymore.
No, we're
It's just
talking half full.
half full if you're lucky on a good day. On a good day. So in the production of the episode today, I used some articles from various websites, one of them being ScreenRant.com, and specifically an article by Jake D. Jake has made an appearance on our podcast before. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
CinemaBlend.com, an article by Philip Sledge. What a name, Sledge.
Sledge.
Do you think he loves Peter Gabriel?
Probably.
And then finally, an article from Cracked.com, and that one is by Jim McNabb. And Jim has also contributed to our show before. So thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Of course, our homework assignment for this episode was Tommy Boy from 1995. Trav, this was sort of homework for you?
Sort of homework. I don't think I've seen it enough to remember anything other than the few parts I've seen on repeat in this. So yeah, it was pretty fun.
That's good. Not homework for me. That's a movie that was heavy rotation for me in the late 90s. We talked about it a little bit in the last episode, but I'm going to go over it again. Before deciding on the movie title for Tommy Boy, several other titles were under consideration. One of them being Rocky Road. That's an appropriate name for the show, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
For the movie, I should say. Fat Chance seems like it's an exploitive name, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
XL is another name, so also just playing on the fat angle, which... All right, it was the 90s, I guess. And, of course, the front runner for the movie was Billy the Third, a Midwestern. But another movie came out in 1995, and if you're a constant listener, it was just last episode. Billy Madison came out also in 1995, and it was scheduled to come out slightly before Tommy Boy. So it was deemed too similar, and the title of Billy the Third fell to the wayside. All those titles make sense, but I think Tommy Boy is maybe the best title for the movie.
Definitely.
I love how they say it a few times. Like, it's his nickname. It's an appropriate name for the movie.
It's a sweet Tommy Boy.
Sweet Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy, get up here. This movie, Tommy Boy, from 1995, was directed by Peter Segal. So the script was kind of based on several real-life incidences that Segal was involved in. He and Saturday Night Live writer Fred Wolf significantly rewrote the first draft by Bonnie and Terry Turner. The two former SNL writers who wrote Wayne's World and Coneheads, they were there to kind of flesh out the story a little bit. They started by jotting down real-life anecdotes on index cards, such as when Wolf's hood flew off the front of his car, and the time that Segal was heckled by some kids while on a date on a beach. So I've never been heckled by kids on a beach.
Nope. Certainly not like Tommy is in the movie.
No, not like Tommy or Michelle were in that segment at all. This movie was written by Bonnie Turner and Terry Turner, produced by Lorne Michaels. The idea for Tommy Boy began with Lorne Michaels. The project started with Michaels, who originally envisioned the movie focusing on two brothers played by Farley and Lowe. But director Peter Segal, he thought it'd be more about Farley's friendship with David Spade's character instead. So that's the direction that they took the movie. The movie is starring Chris Farley as Tommy Callahan III, David Spade as Richard Haydn, Sandler was up for the role of Richard. It would have been interesting to have the two like big Sandler movies back to back like that.
Yeah, it would have. That would have seemed way different to me if he was Richard in this movie.
It definitely would have been way different.
Not that David Spade isn't funny.
No.
But, yeah, I don't know. It just seems like Adam Sandler would have played it too goofy.
Yeah, I mean, he would have had to have played it like a straight role.
Yeah.
He would have had to.
Like he's the smart professional.
Right.
I don't know.
Maybe he was more up for the role when the movie was going to be more about two like goofy friends instead of like what did I say? Two goofy brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe they would have changed it up a little bit if he would have gotten it.
But it would have been weird to have two like extremely odd and crazy people on the screen at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have worked at all. So Spade and Farley at the time, they were still SNL cast members. And since the film was primarily shot in Toronto, the two had to fly back and forth between Toronto and New York. So not a long flight, but you're getting on a plane a couple of times a week, I would have to assume. So in addition to filming in Toronto, they used some other areas in Ontario. And then filming took place in Sandusky and Marblehead, Ohio, and El Mirage Dry Lake Bed in California. For the life of me, I cannot think of where they were filming in a dry lake bed.
Me either.
For the life of me, maybe the cow tipping scene? Some night stuff, maybe?
Maybe.
But I can't think of a single instance where anything looked like a desert landscape whatsoever.
No.
So, I don't know. Of course, the movie's also starring Bo Derek as Beverly Burns Barish. Beverly Burns Barish. Triple B, as they like to call her. Tommy's stepmother. Julie Warner as Michelle Brock, a high school classmate of Tommy. Dan Aykroyd as Ray Zelinsky. Brian Dennehy as Big Tom Callahan Jr. So his dad would be Tom Callahan, I guess. Sean McCann as Frank Rittenhauer, the vice president of Callahan Auto. And Rob Lowe as Paul Barish, Tommy's older stepbrother. So despite having a major role in the film, Rob Lowe is uncredited as Paul Barish in this movie, which you may say, why? Why is he uncredited? Rob Lowe is a big deal. He was a big deal in the 90s. He's a big deal now. Why would he be uncredited in this movie?
Yeah.
So while making the film in 94, Lowe was actually contractually obligated to the adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand. So that was the miniseries that came out around the same time. So instead of jumping through all the legal hoops of getting out of his contract to be credited in Tommy Boy, Lowe agreed to appear in the film uncredited as a favor to Chris Farley.
Nice.
But just in case Rob Lowe couldn't complete his part due to his contractual obligations on The Stand, Peter Siegel auditioned actors to replace him. Auditions took place while filming was already underway. Among the actors for the role, Matthew McConaughey.
Nice.
All right. That would have been that would have been before Dazed and Confused, so it would have been his motion picture debut.
Yeah.
He could have played the evil guy, I guess. It would have had a weird southern accent to it that wouldn't be in this movie, being in Ohio. But
right.
I don't know. It would have worked. I mean, they would have just had to have said that Beverly was
also from
the
there,
South.
Yeah.
Maybe Bo Derek can't do a southern accent.
Yeah.
So Tommy Boy was released March 31st, 1995, and a lot of critics hated it, just like Billy Madison.
Jeez.
The New York Times called it the very poor cousin of a dopey Jim Carrey movie.
Yikes.
Entertainment Weekly said, stupid, disreputable junk. That's to the point.
That's to the point.
And Roger Ebert wrote, it plays like an explosion down at the screenplay factory.
Oh my God.
They were not kind. They were not kind.
No, they were not.
So Tommy Boy had a budget of $20 million. It made $32.7 million. And that's $65.9 million in 2023. And compared to Billy Madison's box office was 26.4, and that's 52.5 in 2023. So that's an interesting comparison between the two movies. Are you surprised that Tommy Boy was the more successful of the two?
Not really.
No, me neither.
No, I think Billy Madison was too goofy, so if they thought that was too crazy, then this was definitely a step up from that, at least.
I would say Tommy Boy qualifies more as a traditional comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Billy Madison is way more off-the-wall goofiness.
Definitely.
So Tommy Boy was a massive hit on home video, and so Tommy Boy was one of Paramount's top 10 best-selling VHS tapes of all time, along with classics like Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Godfather.
Nice.
So, Trav, would you like to get to the breakdown?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, the movie opens up to Tommy being late for school again as a child. climbing down from his treehouse, running into the sliding door.
Son of a...
Now he's running to catch the bus, getting doused by the sprinklers, cutting through the hedges, chased by a dog, losing his history book, and then running into Richard on his bike. Late again, Tommy? You're pathetic.
Shut up, Richard.
And we fade from a young Tommy missing the bus to an older Tommy also missing the bus in college.
Damn.
He's still running. So keeping that theme going, continuing through the beginning of this movie. Cutting through the hedges. There's a fence on the other side. So they kind of presented it as if it was the same set of hedges he ran through as a child, and it's completely unrelated.
No, yeah.
It's still funny, though, I guess.
Still funny.
So he's just trucking along, running into some babes.
Hi, how are you?
He sees the clock, the big clock in the square, and he's running out of time. So at this point, we don't know why he's running out of time, though.
Right.
We don't know why. Why doesn't he just say, "Oh shit, I'm late for a test"? You know, why doesn't he say that?
Something.
I don't know. I mean, we get to figure it out pretty quickly, but still, I wish we would have. I don't know. Known that at the beginning. Whatever. He makes it to the building that he's got class in, but the door is locked.
Son of a...
Nope, he was just doing it wrong because another student easily pulls it open.
Yeah.
Would it have been more believable if it was a push instead of a pull? Like, that would have been a better joke.
Probably.
Because he was like, was he pushing on? No, he was pulling on that
handle.
He was
pulling, but so the right door was locked and the left was open.
Oh, so he was pulling. So I thought he was pulling on both handles at the same time.
No, he was just on the right door going
All right.
crazy.
Well, that makes more sense.
And I was going to say, whatever it's called, where you're just like doing straight up comedy by yourself, interacting with objects, he's got to be one of the best of all time.
I mean, that's just physical comedy, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you would probably characterize
it's
it
so heavy in this movie.
Yes.
And it was this movie is what I'm thinking of.
Yes.
It's so good.
It is. It's really, really good. It
reminds me of a lot of his skits from Saturday Night Live and stuff, obviously, if it's a Lorne Michael movie. But.
It's Chris Farley in his element, doing what Chris Farley does best.
Right.
So Tommy gets to his seat just in time for the test. So that's when we figure out it's a test, I guess.
Yeah.
The professor is definitely less than impressed with Tommy. I'm guessing it's probably not the first time that Tommy's had to take this class.
I would guess if he's 7 years in.
And then that first question on the test. Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and blank Hancock were all framers of the Constitution.
Herbie is what he comes up with.
Herbie Hancock. Tommy is very satisfied with his answer. Like that's like a middle school history question.
Yes.
Maybe school's gotten harder. I don't know, but that just is a very weak question for a
college. Yeah.
Must have been history 98. Isn't that like the classes below the 100 level classes or something like that? So the next day, Tommy's there and he's checking his grades.
Sorry, excuse me. Pardon me. Can I just check this D+? Oh my God, I passed! Oh man, I got a D+. I'm gonna graduate. I wish we'd known each other. This is a little awkward. I'm gonna graduate.
I love that. He just grabs that random kid.
Random dude.
This is a little awkward. So he passed college, so it's party time, right?
Party time.
And that means smoking, drugs, and drinking.
Apparently they give a lot fewer D+ than D-. It's not a grade they like to give out.
And then, of course, after another bong rip, Tommy passes out and crushes the table.
We're gonna show this world a thing or two. We're gonna show. That makes me think of his Saturday Night Live crashing into the table.
Oh yes, those pratfalls that he does, they're just the best. It's so convincing. He never takes any percentage off of his performance ever, period. No. So Farley did insist on doing all of his physical comedy for himself in this movie.
Nice.
So to quote Behind the Laughter, behind the scenes documentary, we said, "Chris, we'll get some stunt guy to come and do this." And he said, "Absolutely not. I wouldn't hear of it." He was completely dedicated to doing all his comedic stunts. Way to go, Chris.
Nice.
The world is a sadder place without you, because he would still be doing those pratfalls.
Yes.
It's like the same falling over gags that Chevy Chase kind of used to do, but like to the extreme. Like it's just it's the best. It's absolutely the best. So sometime after the party and graduation, Tommy has flown back home to Sandusky, Ohio at this point. Richard and Tommy reunite for the first time in a long time. I'd probably say since high school.
Yeah.
Tommy is late. He missed his flight this morning and his dad. Tommy's dad does have a surprise for him. At least that's what he told Richard.
Yeah.
I guess you should have called.
I did call earlier. I left a message. Message?
What number did you call?
249 or 5678.
I can't hear you. You're trailing off. Did I catch a niner in there? What were you calling from? A walkie-talkie?
No, it was a cordless.
A cordless, like that makes it any better, I guess.
Yeah.
Classic bit, always hilarious. That's just one of those classic things that is out there within pop culture now forever.
Yeah.
So maybe to deflect a bit, Tommy tells Richard that he has finally graduated.
Did you hear I finally graduated?
Yeah, and just a shade under a decade, too. All right.
You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors. And off comes Tommy's bag. It's a garbage bag wrapped in tape. You spray that thing for bugs? He would only travel with a trash bag full of clothing.
Yeah.
He would only travel with that. That's the only thing that Tommy Boy would travel.
Exactly.
So we're in Richard's GTX now, traveling to Callahan Auto. We find out that Callahan Auto may not be doing that well financially.
They shut down the tire plant and the muffler plant, too.
So we also find out that Richard is very fond of his car at this point.
Yeah.
Tommy also spills what looks like an entirely full bag of M&Ms into the tank.
Why it was sitting up there, nobody knows.
Richard probably should have seen that one coming, right?
Yeah, he should have never let him put him up there.
That sounded good. Melted chocolate inside the dash. That really ups the resale value.
I think you're going to be okay here. They have a thin candy shell. Surprised you didn't know that.
I think your brain has a thick candy shell.
Your brain has a shell on it.
Are you talking?
Shut up, Richard.
So at the plant now, we meet Tommy's dad, Tom Sr., Big Tom Callahan. We find out money is a real problem for them right now. The bank doesn't want to give them any more money. Outside investors, no, this is a family business, so you won't even entertain the idea of outside investors. Tom and Tommy, though, they do reunite. Tom couldn't be any more excited to see his son. He really loves that dude.
Yeah, he does.
So they head to the workroom floor to show the banker dude what a real family business looks like. All the workers know Tommy, and they're really excited to see him there. He's very lovable from the beginning of this movie, so I can understand why. I mean, he's probably been running around that factory since he was a kid.
Definitely.
It probably explains a lot about his personality.
Yeah.
Some good physical gags on the workroom floor, running into the obvious OSHA violation of that pallet being suspended in the walkway and stuff.
Yeah.
Shooting the oil filter across the room. So
yeah.
Good distance.
Definitely.
And it was surprisingly believable, even though it was almost 100% and animated, painted on the cells, right?
Yeah.
But it looked pretty good.
It looked good.
You could tell that it wasn't actually happening, but it still looked pretty good. I liked it. It was a good effect. It probably cost like almost all of their effect budget for one shot. Because, I mean, it's not an effect-heavy movie by any means. So.
Yeah.
The new brake pad division of Callahan Auto, it's going to save the company. They're the goddamn Rolls-Royce brake pads. That's what they are. Do you love the bit when when Tommy's dodging the hooks?
Yeah, definitely.
Ultimately smashing his head?
Look out. I got cat-like speed and reflexes. I was checking the specs on the end line for the rotary girder. I'm retarded.
And there's that word for the first time in this movie.
Yep.
Like,
it comes up again.
It does come up again. It's just such an interesting, like, you would have never, even 10 years ago, you probably would have never thought twice about hearing that movie, or hearing that word in a movie. Now you hear it and you're like, oh, what are you saying? You
Just
can't
how
say that.
prevalent it is in these mid-90s movies especially.
Right. It's unbelievable. So Tom makes his final plea to the banker. I need cash. I need fresh capital for the material, for a new workforce before I can turn these machines on. And his banker buddy says, in 23 years, have I ever said no to you? Which that dude has an amazing voice. Like in 23 years, have I ever said no to you? It's like an unbelievable radio voice.
Yeah.
Why say no when it feels so good to say yes? Thanks, Brian Dennehy. He did it all weird and like he was all gyrating when he said it. It was just weird. It was just weird. We go to Tommy's office, and that was the surprise, at least one of the surprise. The other surprise, well, not so much of a surprise, is Tommy's a Nepo baby. That's for sure.
Can I open my eyes now, Dad?
I never told you had to close them in the first place, son. That's hilarious, and it's kind of a running gag. He does it another time before he goes and sees his mother, which is very funny.
Yeah.
Tommy's office is just great. It even has a fridge for soda, right? Enter Richard. Mr. Callahan, I need your John Hancock on those reports.
John Hancock? It's Herbie Hancock. Duh.
Richard is definitely less than impressed with Tommy in his new office. He gets a window, and why shouldn't you? You've been here for all of 10 minutes. Tom tasks Richard with looking after Tommy until he gets his feet wet. Richard is annoyed, and I can see why he probably would be.
Yeah.
And he takes this opportunity to insult Tommy yet again as Tommy reads the Callahan Parts Catalog. It's called reading, top to bottom, left to right, group words together as a sentence. Take Tylenol for headaches, Midol for cramps. Spade's got some really good lines in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
His acting performance at times is less than great
I
in the
agree.
movie. Kind of wooden at times.
I
but
agree. Yeah, for how much I love David Spade, I feel like it's pretty weak in this movie.
You can tell it's his first motion picture.
Definitely.
Where Farley just shines.
Yeah, because sometimes they use some of the things I like he does perfectly, and then sometimes it's super forced with some of the lines that are in here.
There's a few times, too, where he, is supposed to be disgusted in the movie. And he, tosses his hair and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, come on, dude. You look weird, man.
Definitely.
Next, we see Paul Barish, Rob Lowe, exit a Greyhound bus. I love how Greyhound buses are so ubiquitous in 90s movies.
Definitely.
Everybody's riding a Greyhound
Everybody.
bus. Nobody rides a Greyhound bus. I wouldn't want to ride a Greyhound bus unless I had to, I guess. Paul's instantly established as the villain in the movie. His look alone is enough to make him look evil. The all leather, the all black, the greasy hair. His hair is so greasy.
So greasy.
So greasy. He smacks the window and hits the kid making faces. Is that one of Billy Madison's classmates? I feel like it's the curly-haired kid from Billy Madison.
It might be, actually.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I didn't look it up to see. It just kind of looked like him, so I think it might be. And then, of course, Paul tosses that milk carton into the baby carriage. Great, man. You're a villain for sure.
Yeah, dude.
So we're back at the Callahan estate and introducing Beverly.
Holy shnikes. Is that for me?
No, son, that's for me.
Dad, she's like a 10.
So that's a joke because it's Bo Derek and she was in a movie in the 70s called 10 because she's a perfect 10.
Nice.
So that's a joke, but unless you've ever seen Perfect 10 or if you know who Bo Derek is, I mean, you wouldn't have any idea that's a joke. So.
Yeah.
And we find out Tom's other surprise. I've asked Beverly to be my wife.
Wow, man. What did she say?
The look that Tom gives Tommy after it, they're just like, what? We find out that Tom met Bev at a resort for overweight people, a fat farm spa, as Tom puts it. She was a trainer, and her son worked there, too. He's a great guy. You're going to love him, Tommy. He's coming here today for the wedding. Tommy is pumped that he's going to have a brother, right?
Yeah.
Tommy has always dreamed of having a brother. Speak of the devil, Paul's at the door.
Brother?
I'm Paul. You must be Tommy.
Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug.
Brothers got a hug. Oh, Paul and Tommy at this point head out for the night. Paul and Tommy head out for a night on the town. Little brotherly bonding, which there's no scene between that and them heading out.
Yeah.
I wish there was something like you guys should go hit the town, but there wasn't.
There wasn't. Can't believe I have a whole new family. This is awesome.
Yeah, great.
No offense, but if I showed a picture of your mom to some of my buddies at school, she'd definitely be boner of the month.
I'm honored. Do you love I'm blanking on his name for some reason right now. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. He's in the movie. Paul, what's his real name?
Rob Lowe.
God dang. God dang. So do you love Rob Lowe in this movie so far?
I love Rob Lowe.
I love Rob Lowe in this movie. He's
especially
the best.
because the main thing I think of him from is Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
and he is beyond opposite in that. And we don't have to talk about it too much, but I do want to say If people say she's a perfect 10, she's a perfect 10. But that haircut is hideous in this movie.
Yes.
It is hideous.
It is.
Lauren agreed, too. She hadn't seen this movie, so one of the watchers was with her, and yikes. When was that ever popular? I've never seen that haircut, I feel like, in my life.
No. So, upon many watches of this movie recently, if you put two pictures of Paul Barish and Beverly Barish, Rob Lowe and Bo Derek from this movie side by side, they're like practically the same person.
Yeah.
They have like the same haircut, different colors. Their facial structure is crazily similar.
Crazily similar.
Crazily similar.
Yeah.
Like it could be mother-son almost, or like brother-sister.
Which makes sense
It
for the
does.
mother-son gag.
It does,
I
but
suppose.
I was like, dang, they're like the same person.
Yeah. Man,
So-
I hate that haircut. But moving on.
Moving on. They're in the car. Paul and Tommy are in the car, and Paul wants to know if there's anything interesting to do in this rink-a-dink town besides eating. Sure, tons of things. Like?
Late night pitch and putt. We go to the livestock auction and cruise the 4-H babes. Throw some stuff off the bridge.
Which kids do not throw stuff off the bridge.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Paul is interested in something a little bit more dangerous. What do you think he means by a little more dangerous?
I don't know, because he can't give away like his secret motives or anything. So
What would he expect Tommy to drugs?
Because he's rich.
Drugs, I suppose. Does he want to go like rob a convenience store? Does he
Yeah.
want to go like, I mean, I guess he is kind of a criminal, but I don't like, what is it? Then they kind of do like the fake, like it's going to be a whorehouse, but it's not a whorehouse. Like that's not dangerous per
Yeah.
se. It's a terrible choice,
Terrible choice.
but it's not dangerous per se.
Definitely weird.
Yeah, definitely weird. Anyways, so they settle on cow tipping after the ruse of it kind of being a whorehouse.
Alrighty.
So we get some fun slapstick humor. It's Chris Farley at his best, right?
Yeah.
Things do not go well for Paul and Tommy, obviously. They get caught up in a stampede of sorts, kind of. Was that the same old guy from Billy Madison, right? Almost. Tommy does take the brunt of the abuse in the stampede from a cow, including being killed when the cow steps on his head.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
he would be dead. Somehow they manage to get away without any extreme bodily harm, and they go to a gas station. They clean up a little bit.
Man, did I get douched with mud.
Hey, Chucko, that doesn't smell like mud.
Oh man, that's cold. I'm a maniac on the floor, and I'm dancing like I've never danced before.
Well done. Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid?
Why? That was so funny.
Why? And I love that gag runs throughout the movie too.
Yeah.
Like it's the other dude asks him about paint chips also, right? And then at the end, Zelensky asks him if he was born under power lines. Like I love that. That's a gag throughout the movie. We're back at Callahan Auto now, and Tommy's in his office.
Luke, I am your father.
Drew put an effect on that. So this movie is kind of credited for like furthering that the fact that Luke, I am your father is the wrong line. It's the wrong line from Star Wars. He says, no, I am your father. That's what Vader actually says.
Yeah.
This movie's kind of credited with like furthering that incorrect line. So, makes sense. Lots and lots of people saw it. And so
Yeah.
everybody says it that way. Luke, I am your father. Everybody says it that way. Richard interrupts Happy Time though. I know you'd love to just sit there and keep being not slim, but we got to work a little today, okay? And then he walks out of the office.
That was from Star Wars.
I know. Did you like his like robot arm thing?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about one of those things in a very, very long time. What a terrible toy.
What a terrible
They're
toy.
a terrible toy. What can you do with that?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Other than give the middle finger.
Other than that's all you would do. You'd
That's
find
all
that
you can do.
you would find one of those in a store, you'd put it on, you'd start giving people the middle finger, and then you'd set it back down and go about your day. You got your
Yep.
middle finger whatever up through you got it taken care of.
Pretty pointless.
Yeah, very pointless. Tom wants Tommy to figure out why they're having delays on the loading dock. On the dock, Tommy fails at figuring out what's going on with the delays, and then he gets mocked by the workers. Tommy, maybe you should go back to college for another 7 years and study a globe. What a burn.
What a burn, dude.
What a burn. Tommy then runs into his love interest, Michelle Brock from Chaparral. Hi. They went to high school together. So they have a little bit of a back and forth, and Tommy was friends with her brother. They used to steal donuts from the Safeway. Now he's a cop.
All right.
So then Michelle offers him a donut because he brought up donuts because
Yeah.
he saw him on the table. I don't know.
I'd better not. I have what the doctors call a little bit of a weight problem. I used to grab bear claws as a kid, 2 at a time, and get them lodged right in this region here.
It's funny every time. It's a funny line. The physical angle takes it to the next level for me.
Yeah.
The joke comes off a little tone deaf and insensitive in 2023, right?
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like it's okay because it was like Farley's shtick, right? That's what
Right.
he derived a lot of his humor from his physical appearance and his physical abilities. So do you think that makes it okay to still laugh at these jokes and to talk about these jokes? Like,
I feel like because it's such a part of him and he's so comfortable with it, it's got to be. Like, that was his intent, you know?
right. He's not being made fun of. He's doing the making fun, right?
Right.
It's him doing it. It's his joke.
Yeah.
And it was like I just said, it's kind of like the crux of his humor was his physicality.
Agreed.
And how he looked. And so I think it's okay to still laugh at these jokes and still have fun with them.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. So it's the wedding day now, and half the town's there.
Yeah.
Tom wants his son's approval, and Tommy gives it to him.
Dad, it's cool. I just want you to be happy.
Enter Richard. They're ready for you, sir. Good. We're ready too. How do we look? Chubby. I think that's the champagne talking. It's a funny joke.
It's a funny joke.
The look that they both give him is just like, especially Tom Senior.
Senior.
He's just like, I'm gonna strangle your neck, kid.
Yeah.
I'm gonna choke you out. So they have the ceremony, and all seems well, and it's time to party. Everyone's having a really, really good time, and Tom's still doing business, even though it's his wedding day. Sounds good, Tom, but I'd like to take a look at your operation before I commit. Fair enough, Doug. Course, I can get a hell of a good look at a T-bone steak by sticking my head up a bull's ass, but I'd rather take a butcher's word for it.
Bull's ass. That's great.
Tom makes the sale even after 8 whiskey sours.
Yeah.
So it's time for Tom's toast. And what a lovely toast and musical performance it is, right?
Yeah.
That was really Farley and Dennehy singing. It sure sounded like it.
It does.
I
Yeah.
love that they went for it.
Hell yeah.
Plus, any excuse for Chris to give us any more physical comedy, I'm always good with that.
Exactly. Thinking of his Chippendales stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's what it really reminded me of,
Yeah.
too. Bad news, though. Tom bit the big one. That's a heart attack.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how they cut away from him, not even going to a knee, right? They cut away from it so fast.
Right.
So Dennehy must have been like, I'm not going to the ground.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to like fake going down to a knee. But
Right.
that's it. Or his fall was so like, so herky-jerky and weird looking. They're like,
That
well,
they
we gotta,
had to do that.
Gotta cut that out.
Gotta
can't
cut that out.
like he just like gently lays himself on the ground and puts his hands
Yeah,
next
that's
to
not
his
gonna
ears.
work. So we're gonna have to cut that out.
Or somebody comes from off stage and slides a pillow underneath his head, right? It's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, this is just not going to work." So they bury Tom, and it's a pretty sad and somber moment for a comedy.
Yeah.
Tommy walking down that dirt road and going through the empty factory. The heart and the soul of the company is dead now, and Tommy has to take on that mantle. It really was like an emotional moment for me, and then every time the bagpipes music, the lonely country road, the empty factory, it was really good at tugging on those heartstrings. So we move quickly on from that, and we get Tommy and Michelle in his dinghy. Tommy reminiscing about his dad. Quit playing with your dinghy. Michelle definitely feels for Tommy's loss. She's happy that Tom invited her along for the boat ride also, so she's kind of into him, Kind of into him, so score one for Tommy. Even though there isn't any wind. Their peaceful voyage, though, is rudely interrupted, however. Hey, Tubbo, you ain't moving.
Yeah, you need a little wind here.
No, you need to drop a couple 100 pounds. Blimp.
Rascals.
Hey, your sail is limp. Like your dick.
Watch your language in front of the lady, punk. Jeez.
Hey, Gilligan, did you eat the skipper?
You better pray to the god of skinny punks that this wind doesn't pick up, 'cause I'll come over there and shove an oar up your ass. Jeepers creepers. Those guys keep interrupting us. I'm sorry about that.
Hey, lady, look out. There's a fat whale on your boat. Yeah, Free Willy. What a topical joke.
What a
Free
topical
Willy, because that
joke.
came out in like 94. What a topical joke. Just every time I see Free Willy, I just think of the image of the kid standing on the reef and Willy going, and then the Michael Jackson song playing. That's all I ever think of with Free Willy. I've seen the movie a bunch of times, but I couldn't tell you what happens in it besides the whale gets freed and Michael Jackson did some songs and soundtrack.
Yeah,
That's all.
agreed.
We'll do Free Willy someday for you, people.
Someday.
So Tommy's definitely had enough of these kids. Actually, Michelle has had enough of these kids. Well, I suppose Tommy's had enough of these kids
Yeah,
on the
they
beach
both
too.
have.
But Michelle especially, because she takes some actions. Listen up, you little spazoids. I know where you live and I've seen where you sleep. I swear to everything holy that your mothers will cry when they see what I've done to you. But Michelle's only kidding. She doesn't know where they live.
But it gets the kids out of there.
Yeah, it really does. She really does like Tommy, right? And they make a cute couple.
They do.
Tommy is grateful for Michelle's actions.
That was awesome.
He's like, dang, lady, that was awesome. That was cool. So we move over to the boardroom now, and they're trying to hash out what is exactly going to happen to Callahan Auto, and Zelensky Industries has an offer to buy the company out. Seems like a no-brainer at this point, right? Doesn't that seem like a no-brainer to me? Kind of seems like a
Yeah.
no-brainer to me, but
Definitely.
I get you want to keep it in the family and stuff, and this is like what you're going to give to your kids eventually, but so would be like millions of dollars
Right.
invested. Money makes money. Whatever. Keep the
Whatever.
company. It's noble. There's definitely pushback from the other board members about selling the company also. This company's always been family owned. I don't want to hear the word sell again. Tommy and the newly Mrs. Callahan will benefit greatly from the sale. So will the other board members. So it seems like there's a lot of, like, you should sell the company. But
Yeah.
Tommy doesn't want to. I don't blame him. In the meantime, Callahan Auto still needs that loan to keep the company afloat. Until they figure things out, that's not going to happen, though, because
No.
there's no way to get anybody money because nobody's got any collateral. Tom basically got in over his head when he built the new brake pad division, and the bank refuses to take the risk. So, did Callahan Auto die with Big Tom? Kind of seems like it did, but maybe not. So if the factory does go under, the whole town goes under, and then that's when the horrors come in. Excuse me, what was that? Like, Paul Rob Lowe is just like baffled by that lady.
Yeah.
And that's when the whores come in. Men laying their trick money down, $20 to spend on the rent. Maybe instead I'll spend it on the whore. But Tommy is to the rescue at this point. He's going to give everything he has to the bank as collateral to get that loan. Let's all the money he's getting from his dad, all his shares that he got from his dad, the house, anything that he owns, which is probably not very much,
Probably
but that's like, dang, that's everything,
He's
man.
all in.
He's all in. And the bank is all in too. They're like, yeah, that's enough collateral.
That should work.
That'll work. But who's going to sell the brake pads? Tommy will do it. Good job, Tommy. Then one last check-in with that old lady. Whores running around doing their little behind shake for the men folk.
Alrighty.
Thanks, lady. Is that lady the second grade teacher from Billy Madison?
I don't think so.
Oh, man, I thought it might be. Just on looks alone. For Christ's sake, once during the war, I visited a prostitute and my life has been a living hell ever since. That guy. So what are their positions? Like, they're just there for fun, for
They're just
jokes?
there.
They're just there for fun and
Yeah.
jokes.
They
They must
do-
be
they do
related.
nothing.
They do nothing. They're just there for fun.
So of course they're trying to sell. They have no skills.
They're like, yeah, sell it. I don't care. So we find out that they can only hold Zelensky off for a couple of weeks, which I don't know how they're like holding him off.
Yeah.
Like, you just say, we're not ready to sell yet. If you really, obviously he's motivated to buy.
Right.
We find out later why he's motivated to buy. I mean,
Right.
Whatever. They are basically out of options, though. They have nothing left to do, so what is there left to lose besides 300 jobs if the factory closes? I guess that's it. Tommy doesn't know the first things about brake pads, so that's a con. Right? That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But you know who does? Richard. Uh-oh. That's a pro, because Richard knows all about it.
Yeah,
So that's a pro.
you're covered.
Cons and pros. Pros and cons. Richard is not pumped to go out on the road with baby Huey. That's a fact.
That's a fact.
Nobody has any better suggestions, though, as to what to do, so off you go, guys. So it's Tommy and Richard on the road in the GTX. I can actually hear you getting fatter. Do you do that ever? Ketchup straight into the mouth with the French fry? Ketchup
I
straight
do not.
You don't do that?
I don't do that.
I've done it. It's not ideal. The ketchup to French fry ratio is always way off.
Yeah.
It's always way more ketchup than French fry. It's always way off. This isn't a vacation for Richard, so let's review up Tommy. Tommy kind of knows his stuff, but he still has lots of room for improvement.
Yeah.
He just is like,
Why can't I remember it?
Try an association. Like, let's see. The average person uses 10% of their brain. How much do you use? 1.5%? The rest is clogged with malted hops and bong resin. Oh, quickly, though, we are to the first sales call to the Midwest Regional Auto Parts.
I gotta do this.
Are you ready?
Yeah, sorry. I'm ready. Hey, does this suit make me look fat?
No, your face does. Okay, let's check you out. All right.
Pulls off his tie.
Yeah.
That's a clip-on.
Are you sure? We don't take
No shit from no one.
no for an answer. So they head in, and Tommy takes no for an answer.
Yeah.
Immediately. No.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
And wash and repeat
Yeah.
until they finally get a maybe. So thank God they finally got a maybe. The store owner dude does not want Richard's sales pitch. So Tommy takes control, and he does his best.
Now let's see what happens when you're driving with the other guy's brake pads.
So this is like one of the super awesome rants, right?
Obviously, this is one that I've seen a whole
Yeah.
bunch, and I think in the DVD version of Seen It, this was the scene that would show from the movie, and then there'd be some random questions. So
That makes sense.
I've seen it a lot.
And your family's screaming.
Oh my God, we're burning alive! No, I can't feel my leg. Here comes the meat wagon. Wee, wee, wee. And the medic gets out and says, "Oh my God!" New guy's in the corner puking his brains out. Bah! Bah! All because you wanted to save a couple of extra pennies.
Get out. The dude's desk is on fire.
And there's multiple times in this where David Spade, you can tell, starts to
Yes,
laugh. Just like
yes.
the scene in Saturday Night Live, but I can tell a few times. And then I can't tell if it's written in that he should be smiling or not, but there's a few where you can tell he's got to cover his mouth with his hand, and how couldn't you?
Right.
When he starts to actually light that car on fire on the desk, that's the time when he for sure slips up.
When
and
he
laughs.
tries to stop Farley from doing it, Farley shrugs him off. He's like, and he just does that quick.
Oh, man.
That was one of the fun things about watching this movie a few times, was
Yeah.
watching David or other people during the movie to see their reaction to
From
Chris.
Farley's
Yeah,
acting,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was one of the better parts of the movie on subsequent watches. And then also at the very end, when Tommy asks, "Do you validate?" Like, get out, get out. Oh, Tommy and Richard hit the road, and they make a little pit stop for gas and directions to the next huge, embarrassing failure. Tommy destroys Richard's car door.
Yeah.
I don't like how it's so destroyed, and then when Richard pulls the door off, it's just like a pristine door.
Pristine. Yeah, there's just no way.
No,
Does
I didn't
not
like
have
that.
the plunger in the car to pull out the dents or anything.
I did not like that. Richard has some really hard time getting directions. He asks how far to Davenport. I can't find it on the map. Well, get yourself a new map. I enjoyed the gas station clerk. He was
he's
very
funny.
funny. He was very funny. Richard Snark does not sit well with him whatsoever. He is just like, okay, dude, like, I am here reading my book, and this is what I do. I do not want to deal with you.
Yeah.
Richard finally does get all his directions and finds out that Tommy didn't put any gas in the car.
Why didn't you put any gas in the car? He says, they're all out. They only got diesel. Better go to the next station.
Better go to the next station. And Richard opens up the door and it falls off.
What did you do?
Classic scene, classic gag. Super memorable. Another instance of this movie being like intertwined with pop culture forever. Back at Callahan Auto, they're having a giant carnival for the employees. Maybe don't have a big party like that if you're going to go bankrupt.
I'm going to say probably not.
Probably don't. But that giant carnival is just not the same without Big Tom.
No.
The employees are definitely disheartened by the fact that Tommy is out there trying to save the company. Are you kidding? We're all screwed. That kid's one apple that fell way off the tree, which is kind of weird to get that sentiment from them, considering when we first saw him, except for the one dude on the dock,
Yeah.
they were all like, hey, Tommy, we love you, Tommy. But
Yeah.
I guess they know what his true personality may be and the fact that he's just a huge,
Right.
kind of a dumb guy.
Like,
But
he's a great, lovable guy, but now he's our boss, kind of.
he's in charge with saving our jobs.
Yeah.
I could see why that would be a bit disheartening.
Yeah.
Next, we get to see the true intentions of Paul and Bev. Whoa!
Yuck.
They're actually a couple, and they're scheming to steal everything they can from the Callahans. They actually see Big Tom's death as like a good thing because they're planning on bleeding him dry over a number of years.
Right.
So they're like, well, now we just got to figure out how to sell the company and make all our money and leave.
Yep.
Michelle sees Paul and Bev and seems very suspicious. Like, maybe they're a really, really close mother and son.
Yeah.
Maybe they're really close.
Maybe
Arms
they're
are-
like super duper close.
Yeah, really close.
See, if they were from the South, that would have made more sense.
Yeah, they should have been from Alabama. She would have been like, oh, all right. Sorry, Alabama people. I
Sorry,
don't really
sorry.
mean that.
We're just joking.
I don't really mean that. Next scene, they're in the alleyway, Paul and Bev are, and Paul pees on a high voltage box and is shot across the alleyway, killing him instantly.
But not really.
Yeah, but it's seriously, though, it is very, very funny. Like,
Yeah,
it's hilarious
it's
and
hilarious.
super cartoony, and it's obviously what they're going for.
Obviously.
So it's super funny, and the fact that Paul's, I wouldn't say his injuries necessarily escalate, but they are continuous.
Continuous.
'Cause-
And he's very funny with this
Yes,
stuff.
yes. And then Bev is just looking from side to side, like not a good bit of acting from Bo Derek in that instance.
Not so much.
But it was still funny. Like wouldn't she like lean down and check on him? Maybe that just is reading. This is probably reading too much into Tommy Boy, but she didn't lean down to check on him because she doesn't actually care about him because
Yeah.
she's a con artist,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Reading too much into Tommy Boy, but that's what I'm going to go with. Back on the road with Tommy and Richard, their luck is not getting any better. Their luck is not getting any better.
Better.
They hit a deer. So what should they do? They should load it up in the car and take it with them.
I guess.
I mean, that's what I do, right? You just load that roadkill right up into your car. Take it
Definitely.
with them. Take it with them.
Certainly.
Take it with them. Loading it up, put them behind. Now they're gonna be late to Brady Auto. They only have 20 minutes to get there or something like that. So what are they gonna do with the deer? Take it to a vet?
You take dead animals to the vet?
Why not? I'd take you to the vet.
Yeah, I'll take you to the... Got that. Shut up.
One of their oldest customers now, Brady Auto, right? That's what it was.
Yeah.
So it should be a sure thing.
Yeah.
Since Richard thinks it's going to be easy, Tommy challenges Richard to make the sale. Turns out the sale isn't going to be that easy for Richard at all.
No.
Mr. Brady does not like him. I don't like you, probably never will. You're a smug, unhappy little man, and you treat people like they were idiots. Yeah, he kind of does, doesn't he?
He does.
So Tommy steps up and butchers the sale. Literally butchers the sale.
I'll tell you what, you can take a good look at a butcher's ass by sticking your head up there, but wouldn't you rather take his word for it?
Now that Tommy has really messed up, because he's like, what's that, son? Like, you've offended me.
I quit. I can't do this anymore. My head's about to explode. My whole life sucks. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. My dad just died. We just killed Bambi. I'm out here getting my ass kicked every time I drive down the road. I want to jerk the wheel into a goddamn bridge embankment.
Pulls his hair up. Goddamn bridge embankment.
Oh, man. That's a famous meme, obviously.
Yes, it is. It's hilarious, too, every time. And then Richard, we'll be in touch. No, you won't.
No, perhaps not.
Back on the road and nearing rock bottom. 285 miles from Minneapolis. Shout out, Minneapolis.
Duluth is in it later.
Yeah, it is. And the deer isn't dead.
Isn't it?
Comedic gold. Just comedic gold.
It's alive. I think it tried to bite me.
That car is just absolutely trashed after that
Trashed.
deer goes crazy in there. No way that just happened.
I swear I've seen a whole lot of stuff in my life, but that was awesome. But sorry about your car, man. It sucks. That's some great Farley there. From that line to that line, the way he shapes up his face is so good.
Sorry about your car, man.
It sucks.
So throughout the film, Richard drives a cherry convertible 1967 Plymouth GTX with Krager SS wheels, as he says. I barely know what any of that means.
No.
But once the deer destroys the car, and the deer is seen standing on top of the vehicle, the car is no longer the 67 GTX. Instead, it's a 1968 Chrysler Newport.
Hey.
I couldn't tell the difference.
No.
They pull into the Deer Glen Motel. That's funny, right? They just deal with the deer.
Yeah.
The Zelensky commercials on the TV, and Tommy thinks he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy.
So wait, the one guy that you're supposed to hate in all of this, you think is a nice guy? He does. Tommy's lack of caring puts Richard off the edge, basically, over the edge. They have 500,000 brake pads to sell. Richard's car is destroyed. We haven't made one sale. And the one guy who should be caring about this, doesn't. Tommy says he just needs some help, but Richard is totally over it, and Tommy will not be getting any help for Richard. This is one of the instances where his acting is terrible. When he's on the couch, he like flips his hair over and then like sulks in the couch, and like I'm just like, oh, come on, dude, you look like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, he does.
But Tommy wins him back with fat guy in a little coat.
Yep.
That's what he does. He
I
wins him
guess
back.
it's his thing since he was a kid, maybe.
It's iconic and hilarious always, every time you watch the movie. So that fat guy in a little coat routine was initially conceived as a skit for Saturday Night Live.
Oh, wow.
Of which Spade and Farley were still cast members while filming, obviously. The idea came about when Spade and Farley shared an office for writing on SNL. And to break the tedium up of getting new stories put together for pitches, Farley would constantly claim to Spade that he had a new idea. And every time, he'd revert back to the same old fat guy in a little coat gag to make Spade laugh. So the two ultimately decided it was too funny, and they had to put it in the movie. But the original shot of them doing it, there was no musical component. So when he sings "Fat Guy," was not in the original shot.
Nice.
So in movies, they do this thing called coverage, where they kind of just shoot like one actor by themselves for an extended period of time for editing purposes, so they can use that shot however they want to edit.
Yeah.
So while they were doing that with Spade's character, Farley improvised the singing of it. And so they reshot the whole scene again where Farley did the singing and stuff. So that's a pretty interesting little story about how that came about. I thought it was pretty cool. Pretty cool. So back on the road, and Richard and Tommy still are not getting along. 44 miles to Duluth. They're fighting over the radio a little bit, but then they come across the Carpenter Slammer Superstar, right?
Yep.
You can change it if you want to.
I don't care. It's up to you.
I can live with it if you can.
Suit yourself.
Don't you remember you told me you loved me, baby? You said you'd be coming back this way again, baby. Baby, 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 oh, baby.
I love you.
Good job, Trav.
Shout out Patreons.
Shout out Patreon. And you'll need to subscribe to the Patreon when we get that up and running to actually know why we said shout out Patreon. So, cue the hood flying up at this time, and the car is out of control, pulls out of a near head-on collision with a semi, and it's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
They're just spinning like a top on the highway, just around and around and around and around. Tommy left the oil can in the engine.
Hey, if you're going to say I didn't put the right kind in, then you're wrong. I used 10W30.
But you can't latch the hood too well if you don't take the can out, you no-selling waste of space. I swear to God, you're worthless. Richard is very sick of Tommy.
Yeah, very evident.
Richard had to fight for everything in his life, and Tommy was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, so there's a certain level of resentment there that was already locked in when they met the first day after he got back, you know. I'm Big Tom's son. He'll fix everything, so I'm allowed to be a moron.
That's it. Get out of the car. It's time. You and me.
Tommy calls out Richard and tells him to take the first shot.
Smack. Come on, you can do better than that, can't you, Captain? Smack. Limp wrist. Smack. If I wanted a kiss, I would have called your mother.
So after repeatedly punching Tommy in the face, Richard hits him with a 2x4. Because, I mean, that's a good escalation.
That was a good one.
Oh, look, prehistoric forest. Which there is no prehistoric forest near Duluth. Not
Yeah.
that I know of.
Not that I know.
Richard and Tommy make it to the Cluck Bucket for some lunch and some reconciliation. And you hear the song in the background. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Richard, do I have a mark on my face? It really hurts.
No, nothing. I thought I hit you in the shoulder.
My shoulder doesn't hurt very much, but my face does. Right here. Not here or so much here, but right here.
Nope, ship shape. And enter our friendly waitress. Richard orders a shrimp cocktail, and then she notices Tommy's face. Jesus, what happened to your face?
I knew it. See, Richard?
Tommy just wants some wings, but the kitchen is closed.
Boy, some wings would really hit the spot. Are you sure it's closed?
Let me check. Yep, it's closed.
Okay, I'll just have a sugar packet or two.
And then Tommy asks the waitress her name. Helen.
That's nice. You look like a
I
Helen.
love how he says that. You look like a Helen.
You look like a Helen.
Tommy goes on to tell Helen why he sucks at selling brake pads.
Well, I get all excited. I'm like, Jojo, the idiot circus boy with a pretty new pet. Oh, my pretty little pet, I love you. So I stroke it, and I pet it, and I massage it, and I love it. Oh, I love my little naughty pet. You're naughty. And then I take my naughty pet and I go and I kill it. I kill my sale and I blow it. And that's when people like you and me have to forge ahead, right?
Oh, Trav, that was like perfect. That was like perfect delivery. Thank you. God, you're sick. Tell you what, I'll turn the fryers back on and throw some wings in for you.
Tommy likey. Tommy want wingy.
And don't tell me you don't say that whenever you order wings, because I know I do. Tommy likey. Tommy want wingy. If I don't say it out loud, I at least say it in my head.
Yeah.
So that waitress is almost played by a famous sitcom star. Don't look and take a guess.
I was thinking the girl from Seinfeld, maybe.
Oh, that would have Elaine Bennis. What's her real name? Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
That would have actually been pretty good. She would have done well in that, I think. It was Roseanne Barr.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, she's a little bit more waitress looking, but I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus would have been a good choice, too. She apparently was interested in playing the role, but Barr had to decline due to scheduling. So, see you later, Roseanne.
See ya.
She's been canceled, so you don't see her in the stuff anymore. You don't see her in the news anymore. Boom. And Tommy and Richard have an epiphany of sorts. Tommy knows how to read people and how to tell them what they want to hear, just like Big Tom does. So at least something passed on from Big Tom. That board to the face must have jogged something loose, I guess. Will they have more success now that Tommy knows he has the goods to make a sale?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, they will. He has to sell himself to the customers and not necessarily sell the brake pads. So we're at that next sales call. Is he going to be able to do it? It's not going too well. Ted is hung up on the lack of a guarantee on the box. But remember the chicken wings, Tommy, and use your skills, dude. So Tommy regales Ted with a story of a glue-sniffing guarantee fairy.
Next thing you know, there's money missing off the dresser and your daughter's knocked up. I've seen it 100 times. Why do they put a guarantee on the box then? Because they know they sold you was a guaranteed piece of shit. That's all it is, isn't it? Hey, if you want me to take a shit in a box and mark it guaranteed, I will. For your daughter's sake, you might want to think about buying a quality product from me.
Okay, I'll buy from you.
What?
His rants in this movie are so good.
So good.
So good. Back in Sandusky with Bev and Paul now, and word has gotten back to them that Tommy made a sale, but it's only one. So Paul hatches a plan. There's lots of plan making in this movie. Everybody's making a plan. It's very simple to stop the trucks and to stop Tommy Boy. So that's all his plan is. You stop the trucks, you stop Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
So Paul heads to Callahan Auto to execute his plan. to fire a high-powered rifle at trucks, causing them to explode. All of this in plain view.
Yeah, why not?
Sure, why not?
That should be fine.
He's nearly attacked by the guard dog, and Paul is just out of range of that dog. Which, if it's a guard dog and it's a fenced-in, maybe it's not a fenced-in area, but I feel like he should patrol more than a 20-foot area.
Probably.
It's okay. It looks like it literally almost bites his face off. I'm sure it was the illusion of depth where, Paul was standing further back from the camera and vice. But still, I like that shot. I thought it was cool.
Very good.
Paul finagles his position to get a good shot at the truck using his door as support for the gun, but the automatic seatbelt foils him, causing his shot to be off target, causing a sign to fall, severing the dog's chain. And Paul just says, not good.
Not good.
He's definitely dinner for that dog. And the second time, Paul is seriously injured in this movie. Did you ever ride or knew anybody that had a car with that style of seatbelt where it would come up and go down?
Yep, my dad never had one, but I've ridden in one before like that.
When you don't ride in a car like that very often, all of a sudden it's doing its thing.
Yeah.
I haven't ridden in a car like that in a really long time.
Really long
I haven't
time.
seen a seatbelt action like that in a very long time.
They suck.
They do suck. They're terrible. They're terrible. They're terrible. And that strap is always there.
Yeah.
It's always there when you're
Always
getting in
annoying.
and out of it. It's always annoying. It just made people not use the lap belt part, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
So it did nothing. It did nothing. Back with Tommy and Richard at a hotel. They spend a lot of time at hotels in this movie.
Yes, they do.
Which is probably super easy for shooting, right? You just make a reservations for a bunch of different hotel rooms in the same city and just go from hotel room to hotel room.
True.
Yeah, probably really easy. Richard is consulting a map to figure out their route tomorrow, and Tommy is off to get a pizza.
The only thing I need to figure out is whether to get Chicago style or thin crust. The salesman has left the building.
Chill, bud. What a 90s thing to say. Chill, bud.
Chill, bud.
With Tommy gone, Richard goes to shut the shades for a little privacy. That's when Richard spots a woman getting ready to take a midnight dip, and he is very interested. Oh, mamacita. But there's Tommy crossing the courtyard, headed back to the room. Presumably, that's what I would assume.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have had a short scene with Tommy also spotting the lady, like maybe giving it plausibility why he would turn around so quickly.
Yeah.
Because where was this pizza place? Like in the lobby? Maybe in the lobby? That would be the only thing I could think of. Just like him going through a security door and seeing her, like passing her in a hallway and being like, ooh, I got to turn around and do this. But we don't have that scene.
No.
We see him and he just says,
Hi.
Tommy, scram. Don't give her the weight room thing.
Do you know where the weight room is? I'll check it out.
She's just like, no, sorry.
She seems like genuinely would have been excited for him to stay with her.
Kind of, right?
Yeah.
Kind of, right? It's hilarious how Richard knew that that's what Tommy was going to do.
Like he always pulls that.
It's not the first time he's pulled it on this road trip.
No. Exactly.
Now that Tommy is out of the picture, Richard continue his perv-out session, basically.
Super perv-out session.
Ooh, daddy likes. Now take off that itchy robe. Nobody's around. It's naughty time. Oh, those are real. No one's looking. Speaking of no one's looking.
Zip.
Which he's wearing boxers.
He's wearing boxers.
There's no zipping to
There
it.
is no zipping.
Unless he's like a never nude and he has boxers with a zipper. He's always in boxers. But Tommy returns in one of the funniest gotcha moments ever to put on film, if you ask me.
Richard, what were you doing?
Going over some documents.
How could you be reading documents when they're in your briefcase? That's a mystery. Were you watching Spanktivision? Maybe you were watching a movie with that funny comedian. Oh, what's his name? Buddy Wackett? Hey, that's a pretty girl down there. Jeez, I wonder if she goes out with one of the Yankees.
The Yankees. All Richard wants to do is go to bed and hide from his embarrassment.
Yeah.
Funny every time.
It's so funny.
It's super awkward that he's like perving out on somebody, but
Definitely.
that scene, the gotcha moment, of all the type of gotcha comedy stuff, it's so funny to me.
So funny.
So
Very
funny.
unrealistic that she would get naked at this pool.
In a courtyard
In
pool?
a courtyard. Come on. But yeah, the way Farley says Richard when he walks in, he knows instantly what he was doing. It's just so funny.
There was a lot of TNA in that moment, too, for a PG-13, right?
Yeah.
That's some full-on side boob and full butt. Both cheeks.
True.
Both cheeks. That's for a PG-13. This movie pushes the PG-13 rating.
Definitely.
It's because there's, like, no violence except for the one fight with the two of them.
Right.
I guess there's a little bit of gun violence, but it's, like, on inanimate objects.
Correct, yeah.
Interesting. Because it seems to push it. I don't think that stuff would fly in a PG-13 today.
I don't think so.
I don't think it would. 1995, man.
Yeah.
As they go to bed, Tommy reminds Richard it's going to be a big day tomorrow and gets one last dig in before bed.
Richard, who's your favorite little rascal? Alfalfa? Or is it Spanky? Sinner.
Just as he goes to bed, sinner. Back on the road in the GTX, and it has definitely seen some better days. Hardly legal with that, like, what is that, like a baby gate that is on the door?
Seriously, or
like,
a dog gate or something. Yeah.
So you'd think that they would get pulled over pretty quickly.
Yes.
Pretty quickly. But the sales are piling up. It's yes after yes, and Tommy's running into plate glass windows, which I'll laugh at every time.
Yep.
I like the sale where the manager asked Tommy if he ate paint chips as a kid, just continuing that gag. They got a future so bright they got to wear shades. I love that song. I don't know about you, but when they're back in the car and that song hits, Callahan Auto is working at full capacity, and Tommy and Richard are picking up hitchhikers, which the hitchhiker doesn't have a single line or anything. The dog just drools on Tommy. That's the reason why she got in the car. Tommy getting out to pee and Richard rolling away.
Hey, my thing got stuck in my zipper. I got piss all over my pants.
Road trip antics, they're the best.
Yeah.
They're the best. Tommy and Richard, they seem like they're kind of being really good friends now.
They're the best of friends.
The best of friends. Also, now we see Paul. He's fucking things up back at Callahan Auto. He's there in Michelle's office, deleting orders, changing numbers on orders.
Yeah.
She sort of busts him. She's already suspicious of him, and then she sees him sitting at her computer, which, if you go into somebody's office, you definitely don't sit at their desk.
No.
Right? If there's no place to sit, you stand.
Yeah.
Maybe sit on the desk a little bit.
And
but
he's all, like, injured. He's
Yeah.
bleeding and stuff just all over her crap.
Yeah, so
uses her phone.
No, she's even more suspicious. Paul is there under the guise of talking about Tommy because he knows that she's interested in him and he's interested in her. Circle yes or no, right? But his shirt gets sucked up a pneumatic tube, which is hilarious. His reaction is the best too. Yeah. Well, gotta go. Yeah. Just walks out of there, slings his coat over his shoulder. In yet another hotel room with Richard and Tommy. Housekeeping.
No, thank you. Sleeping.
Housekeeping.
Could you come back here in an hour?
Housekeeping. You want towel?
No towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping. You want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
Housekeeping. You want me jerk you off?
What kind of hotel is this?
Now that's funny.
That is funny.
Tommy is relieved that it's just Richard at the door. Richard has some great news. They made one more sale, and that puts them over the mark.
Oh, Richard, I'm so happy. Hold me. Don't run away from your feelings.
So they literally said, Farley probably said, or maybe he even did it on his own, was like, I need to go get some kids' underwear.
Yeah.
I'm going to be wearing them in this shot, and it's going to be comedy gold, because it is.
It is.
We are now in the newly retrofitted GTX, tarp soft top, looking very elegant.
Nice.
And we get some fun music montage of sorts, and we get Come On Eileen, End of the World. Nobody really knows all the words to that song, right?
I love that part.
That's what everybody does when they sing it on the radio, at least, right? And Eres Tu as well. I don't know that song, but it's still funny that they sing it.
Yeah.
I don't know what Eres Tu is at all.
Just email us the answer.
Yeah, email us. If you know what Eres Tu is, please email us. Email us you singing that to us, please. So back in Sandusky at Callahan Auto, and Paul's meddling comes to light. Stuff went to the wrong places in the wrong quantities, and most of the sales that Tommy and Richard made are being canceled at this point. Without the sales, they can't pay the bank. It's all over. There are no more breaks to be had. They're going to have to sell this to Zelensky. That's all. I mean, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Zelensky is only interested in the company name. He's only interested in the Callahan name. So everybody's going to lose their job because he just wants to slap a box, put some stuff in a box that says Callahan because it's a premium product by 6 p.m. tomorrow. So nobody's going to have a job.
Yep.
Tommy in Michelle's office, and he blames her, which he kind of, it's like half-hearted blaming, but he still blames her. He's not helping the situation.
Definitely.
He never offers condolences. He's never like, it's okay, I'm sorry that this happened, we'll figure this out. He's like, why didn't you put it in a file cabinet, right?
Yeah.
Michelle doesn't know what happened, and Tommy... Oh, go ahead.
Maybe if you put your files in a filing cabinet, none of this would have happened.
Tommy doesn't have to worry about Michelle anymore, though, because she quit. And she's going to go back to Cuyahoga Falls, where her parents live, at the airport with Michelle, and before she can get on her flight... before she even books the flight. It's so weird in these movies to watch these people walking up to the gate and buying tickets.
Yeah.
It's such a weird foreign thing to think about, because I'm like, she's at the gate, she doesn't even have a ticket, she's buying a ticket right there.
Yeah.
Right? That's just a
so
weird thing. It's very weird. I do remember a time, a friend of mine, I may have told this story already, a friend of mine came back from Venezuela when we were in high school, and I was able to go all the way up to the gate to meet them.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was just, that was the last time I can think of that ever happening, at least. So it must have been before 2001. Michelle's at the airport. She's buying her ticket, and she spots Paul and Bev making out. The cat is definitely out of the bag. She has her proof, right? So she calls her brother, the cop, detective, more or less, because she asked for the hit. What was her last name? Michelle.
I want to say
Brock.
Brock is what
Michelle
I thought
Brock. Something like that, but she asked for Detective Brock is basically what it is. So out wallowing in their sorrows, Tommy and Richard draw the attention of the local police. Not wanting to be busted for drinking and driving, Tommy comes up with a plan, and it's bees. He didn't really have anything to worry about because he wasn't drinking. They can think he's drunk.
Yeah.
But the worst that they're gonna take, if they don't have a breathalyzer for some reason, which was very commonplace in the mid-90s, they're gonna take him back to the police station and draw blood there. I don't know how that actually works, but they're gonna draw blood and find out that he's zeros anyway, so it's not gonna really matter. But funny bees.
I didn't even think about that. Like, he's not drinking.
No,
so
he's not
matter.
drinking. Maybe he had a couple of drinks before the ride. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they were pulled over by two anaphylactic officers, so they just leave. They're like, it's fine, whatever.
That scene is amazing, though. Just funny if that would actually work, the odds of that working, but it's pretty great.
The buzzing would be pretty audible, wouldn't it? Like, you'd be able to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, but still very funny, and it gives us an excuse to see Ray Zelinsky's billboard. So that works out for us in the movie. And so Tommy comes up with a plan yet again, and it's to go to Chicago and appeal directly to Zelinsky. I mean, what else do they have to lose?
True.
So they go to the airport, and they show up in that monstrosity that they call a car. Security says, you can't park that here, and Richard's just like, here, keep it. I don't need it anymore. One last thing, though, about that car, since the last time we see it in the movie. The director, Siegel, he's working on restoring the GTX.
Oh, wow.
Actively working on that. He's been working on raising funds for it so that the GTX can be in the Peterson Automotive Museum in L.A., which is also the home of the Back to the Future DeLorean.
Nice.
So that article was actually from a few years ago, so maybe it's there.
Oh.
The flight is sold out to Chicago. Richard's convo with the flight attendant at the gate is the best.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Earth. Have we met?
I don't think so.
I can book you a return flight from Chicago at 5 p.m.
If that helps.
No, it does not help.
No.
But thankfully, Tommy has another plan.
Another plan?
He literally says, I have a plan. I have a plan.
I have a plan. Do you have any money? Because I've got another plan.
And it's to pay off some flight attendants for their uniforms to get on the plane under false pretenses.
Like that would ever happen.
It's even like far-fetched in 1995.
Super far-fetched because the people that took the bribe are clearly going to lose their jobs.
Clearly, right?
Or, like, you're endangering everyone's lives because they could be dangerous people. I mean,
if anything, they should have shown Tommy and Richard cornering some and like locking them in a closet
and stealing
taking their uniforms, or even better yet, going somewhere within the airport and there's like just flight attendant uniforms in a closet. Right?
Seriously,
that would have even been better. That would have been better. So they do that. They get on the plane, and Richard doesn't think it's going to go very well.
No.
He thinks they're going to get busted and leave. I mean, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen.
Probably.
Tommy leans into it, though, right? He just is like, yep, no, we're full on at this point. He's becoming pretty good at being under pressure.
Hey, guess who's here? What are we serving tonight? Chicken or chicken.
That's the best. Chicken or chicken? That was enough to convince the other attendant that so much so that she's like, you guys take coach. And how about the announcements? Not just drinks or food. They're in charge of like 90% of the plane's passengers.
Come on.
Holy shnikes.
Yeah.
The announcements are very, very funny, though.
Very funny.
Okay, folks, the guy in front of you is Tommy. He'll be taking you through my little spiel here. Tommy is a Scorpio. He likes biking, and he's never been laid. Exits? Okay, there's one back there. There's one probably over by the wing somewhere, usually. What about seatbelts, you may ask? If you guys don't know how to use a seatbelt, just ring it and just ring the call button, and Tommy will come back there and hit you in the head with a tack hammer. Okay, and life preservers? These we may need. Although, what are the odds of us actually hitting a lake? My money says, if anything, we're gonna hit a mountain. To inflate, pull it around your neck and yank down on this little tab.
And then perfectly, Tommy grabs the child's life preserver.
Yep. Pulls that little tab and chokes himself in the process until he stabs it with a pen.
Some more great physical comedy.
More great physical comedy. Overall, this section is a highlight of the movie, even though it's so preposterous. I think it's just a very funny bit. Hilarious. It's Farley and Spade at their best. They're just playing off of each other. And toss in a little bit of movie magic, and they're already making their descent to Chicago. You don't have to see them on the plane doing any of that stuff whatsoever. It's just the descent to Chicago already. Where were they flying out of? Sandusky, Ohio. So it should have been a very short flight.
Well, no, they've made it somewhere else at this point, right? Or did they just get to... Sandusky is where they last left?
Yeah, because they were back home and they saw the billboard.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
they came back thinking the sales were all done.
Yeah, so they left from Sandusky to Chicago. I got to imagine it's a pretty short flight.
Pretty short, yeah.
But still.
You're like up and you're down again already.
Give us one more scene of something going haywire with the drinks or something.
Because he said, I'll throw some peanuts at him. And you get on the microphone like, let's see you throw some peanuts at him. Or serve the chicken.
Yeah.
Whatever. Something. Spill a drink on someone.
Oh, God. Today is not my day. There's just something like that. Maybe there was. I watched the Holy Shnikes edition, which is supposed to be like the extended whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't notice anything different.
Sure.
So that scene probably doesn't exist whatsoever. But I guess, so if the whole, it'd be even more preposterous the longer, if you're going to take it for like a thing, it'd be even more preposterous the longer we saw them on the plane. So
True.
maybe it was a good thing. Any way you look at it, whatever. You take it for what you want, I guess.
Yeah.
But now we are descending to Chicago, and it's time for the boys to change after an old lady destroys the toilet. Ay, caramba. Did you like how I spelled that? Because I didn't know how to spell it. Richard and Tommy take turns changing. Richard takes 1 second.
Literally.
Yep. Tommy does not understand what he just saw. He's just like, huh? What? Tommy takes considerably longer than 1 second. Once again, Farley shines with the physical comedy, smashing his head multiple times, breaking the toilet seat, and then busting out of the lavatory as he gets his tie stuck in the toilet.
I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm fine now.
Tommy and Richard are headed to the Zielinskis now in a cab. Tommy is very nervous, so he's sweaty, rubbing that air freshener all over his body. You're going to smell like a cab driver. Not that that's bad or anything. They get to Zielinski's headquarters and they spot the man himself from across the street. So it's go time. It's a movie, so of course they're going to spot him from across the street outside. Richard and Tommy, they split up in the lobby because they've already lost the target.
Yep.
It must have taken them a long time to cross the street. Tommy to the bank, Richard to the bank of elevators. Kind of the same. So at the bank...
Listen up. This will only take a second.
Everyone hits the deck and the guards slide their guns to Tommy. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Realizing what he's done, he vacates the area very quickly. Wow, what's going on down there? Am I consorting with a known felon? Hey, Mom, it's the guy who robbed the bank.
I didn't rob any bank.
Oh, yeah, right. Like there was another real fat guy with a tiny head.
I got a tiny head?
And Richard's like, yeah. Into the elevator they go, but guess who's in there? Zielinski, because it's a movie.
Of course.
The interaction doesn't go very well at the beginning. Went a little heavy on the pine tree perfume there, kid.
Sir, it's a taxi cab air freshener.
Great. You've pinpointed it. Step 2 is washing it off. That's a great line.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd at his best. He's kind of gone off the deep end. He's always been weird. He's always been a weird guy into UFOs and all that type of stuff, but he's definitely escalated his weirdness in the last 10 years, I would say. But still, love me some Dan Aykroyd for sure. Then the interview with the guards from the bank is very funny. He came out of the shadows behind me, and after he hit me many, many times in the head with a hammer, I had to give him my gun. You know, I've got kids.
Come on.
Many times.
With a hammer.
Back with Tommy and Zelensky, Tommy's making his best plea.
It's not just the factory, it's the people in the town, too.
Zelensky only wants the name Callahan because it's a premium product. He can just slap whatever he's got in a box that says Callahan, so he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Tommy's getting nowhere with Zelensky. The weaker animals always go, so the kids cry when you tie old Tiger to a tree and shoot him. But that's life. America in a state of renewal. We've got to have the strength to tie a few factories to the tree and bash them with a shovel. Put a little coin in the pocket, put a little coin in my pocket, being the a-hole? Well, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Boy, you sure are different in your TV commercials.
Yeah, that's true. That was terrible. Sorry, folks. Zelensky makes no bones about who he is and how he differs from the public persona. He's just like, yep, that's how it goes. The hair with the wig with Richard, that's hilarious. Top-notch gag. You say a word to anyone and I will kill you. Do you understand me?
It looks real.
Tommy, Richard, and Zelensky, they make it to the boardroom, and guess who's there? It's Paul and Bev.
Hey.
And that's it. It's done. Callahan Otto is no more, and Tommy has failed. He lost the company and Michelle, and he let his dad down, and the bench they were sitting on collapsed.
I could have done without that.
Pretty darn funny.
Yeah.
That's just... It's insult to injury. Very funny. Richard gives Tommy the silver lining, though. Tommy tried real hard and made a friend in the process. Sure, that's a silver lining of sorts. It's not that 300 people now are without a job and possibly going to go homeless in a tiny town.
Yep.
You got a new friend, Tommy. Let that console you.
Yeah.
Enter Michelle, because she's in Chicago, too.
Once again, no cell phone age, and we're just pulling right up to them on the street. Hey,
what a good guess. And she had to have left, like, immediately behind them and had, like, zero time to find them. Love it. Movie magic at its best.
Movie magic.
She gets to Tommy with the news about Paul and Bev. I saw your stepbrother and stepsister, and he was kissing her.
So?
With his tongue. Doing his mommy? What a weird line. It's hilarious, though. She's not his mom. They're married. The cat's out of the bag. They are con artists. But wait, Tommy has a plan. Again. He spots the TV van and the dude with some flares, and I like where this is going because it's an obvious bomb. Obvious fake bomb time.
Richard, I'm going to need your watch.
Oh, my God. He's wired.
No cops. I don't want it to get messy.
And again, Tommy gets the lobby to drop to the floor.
Excuse me. Oh, God.
Done this before? Yes, just very recently. So up in the conference room again, and the sale of Callahan Auto is almost complete. Seems as though Bev sees her next target in Zelensky, doesn't she?
Yep.
And he would probably fall for it too, but we will never know because Tommy bursts into the room with the TV crew, and Tom puts Zelensky on the spot. There's some fun check-ins with some of the people that we've met along the way. The guy that Tommy gave his first sale to. Honey, look, there's a human bomb on the news.
Oh, I buy brake pads from him. I thought we were watching cartoons.
And then he just turns the channel. Love that. At the diner, Tommy's on TV, and the waitress asks the guys if they want to watch this or American Gladiators. And
Gladiators.
They say in unison, Gladiators.
Love it. Nitro.
And Tommy's college buddies. Is it just me, or does Tommy look bloated?
Nah, the TV adds a couple hundred pounds.
Couple hundred pounds. He looks nothing different than he did 6 months ago.
Yeah. Where he was still not a believable college kid.
Still not a believable college kid. That is very, very true. Back with Tommy, and he gets his bull and butcher line right. And he gets Zelensky to buy the brake pads from him. 500,000 of them with one check, to be exact. Saving the town and the company. It's revealed to everyone in the room that Paul and Bev are married, and that means Tommy is the rightful owner of the second half of the shares of Callahan Auto, and guess what? He's not selling the company anymore. Turns out Paul has many outstanding warrants, and he runs away. straight into a crash test area that we visited before when Tommy was talking to Zelensky. And he goes for a ride on the front of one of those cars, which seems really dangerous.
Yeah.
And then he gets his nuts smashed by some sand and some sandbags, right?
Oh, yeah. I love his reaction
It's
to
very
that.
good. It's very good. And then Bev moves in on Zelensky finally, and they leave to have dinner. She's completely innocent, apparently.
I guess.
Nobody says anything like, hey, she was involved in this too.
Yeah.
Great.
Nobody cares.
Tommy and
she's a 10.
Because she's a 10. There you go. Tommy and Michelle, they share a kiss. Good for Tommy. Tommy, he's saved the company, and now he's running it. We're back at Callahan Auto in Sandusky.
I just want you to know that as long as I'm around, I'm going to bust my butt and make sure that every last one of you always has a job right here at Callahan.
Great, Tommy. Good job, buddy. And then finally, Tommy on his dinghy to end the film.
I'm supposed to be at Michelle's for dinner, so if you could give me a little help, I'd appreciate it. If not, don't worry about it. I'm trying to do everything I think you'd be doing, and so far it's going pretty good. I just want to tell you that I still love you, and I sure miss you a lot.
And here comes that breeze.
Thanks, Dad. And smack.
And one last parting smack from the sailboat. A good thing, because it's like, oh, his dad hit him in the back of the head, too. A loving smack in the back of the head for
Yeah.
Tommy. Boy. Roll credits. What a wonderful, heartfelt ending, right? It's a happy, happy ending.
Back in the boat again.
Back in the boat again. He gets the girl, he saves the company, and he gets closure with his dad. So it's happy, happy, happy.
There's
Richard Friend. Happy, 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 happy.
Yeah. There's no way you see all those happies coming at the beginning of the movie.
No way. I mean, this movie, Trav, is like really good.
It's a really good movie.
It's like really good.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a very traditional comedy.
Yeah.
And you can see the beats coming, as they come up in the movie, but it's legitimately like a good movie, I think.
Everything's really believable, too, because other than we already know Chris Farley is awesome, I mean, he would be a very likable, very good in-person salesman. I mean, let's be real. Like, especially when he realizes, like, just have fun with it. And so it all makes sense,
It does. I mean, you could say that Chris Farley as a performer is kind of a salesman because he's like selling himself to us as an audience.
Yeah.
And he's really good at it. You're right. If he would have been some sort of like person in sales, he would be richer than rich, right? Richer than rich. Man, this movie, it's hard. I kind of had the intentions of trying to compare this movie to Billy Madison, like when I first went into this episode.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really compare the two.
They're just so different.
They're so different. I think Tommy Boy's the better movie of the two.
Agreed.
I think it's the funnier of the two.
Yeah.
But not to take anything away from Billy Madison because it's its own thing. But this movie is just a really great piece of my childhood. I really think so. It's one of reflecting on this movie, watching it, I'm just like, it's a warm, comfortable movie for me, and I want to find myself watching it more often. I really do.
And this was an email suggestion. So
yes,
don't
it was.
forget, you can email
Yes.
us what we should do at overduehomeworkpodcast@gmail.com.
Was this a Man Bear Pig suggestion?
Nope, that's this next one coming up but this was from Timotheus,
Oh.
1978.
Shout out Timmy. Shout out Timotheus.
Shout out, Timmy.
Shout out, man. Thanks for the suggestion. I'm glad we finally got to get to it.
Yeah, but this next homework assignment is another email.
It is. It's 1991's Hot Shots.
Hot Shots.
It would have been interesting. So this is an instance where our threads were disconnected because this would have been good to do immediately after Top Gun.
Right.
Because it's like a direct Top Gun parody.
Yeah.
It would have been really good to do. But so our threads weren't quite hitting on this one. But still, we're getting to it, and it still relates to our podcast very, very
it's
well.
about a year-ish.
A year-ish,
a little
yeah.
longer than
Yeah, it
after
is like
we
a
did
year-ish.
that. So.
Hot Shots in 1991 was directed by Jim Abrams, written by Jim Abrams, and Pat Proft, Minnesota's own Pat Proft.
Boom.
Pat Proft is a prolific comedy writer. He's been doing it for decades, and we're going to start running across a lot of his name within the next year for our podcast.
Nice.
Produced by Bill Badalato. Starring Charlie Sheen as Sean Topper Harley, Carrie Elways, love me some Carrie Elways, as Kent Pirate Gregory, which is kind of interesting because he played the Dread Pirate Roberts in... what was the movie? The Princess Bride.
Oh, okay.
So I like that his name's Pirate in this, right? So that's kind of cool. Valerie Golino as Ramada Thompson. Lloyd Bridges as Tom Tug Benson. Kevin Dunn as James Eyewitness Block. John Cryer as Jim Washout Pfaffenbach. William O'Leary as Pete Deadmeat Thompson. Christy Swanson as Janet Bio Kowalski. Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. as Mr. Wilson. That's the opposite. Usually, like, the easy name is the actor, and the hard name is the character. Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. That's quite the name. I like that name, as Mr. Wilson. Bill Irwin as Leland Buzz Harley. Ryan Stiles as Dominic Mailman Farnham. Heidi Swedberg as Mary Thompson. Rhino Thunder as Owatonna, the Old One. Charles Barkley as himself.
Nice.
Bill Lambier as himself. And Jerry Halava. Looks like Halava as Saddam Hussein, which I'm going to talk about this probably a little bit more in the next episode. When the original promotional material of this movie came out, it was presented as Saddam Hussein as Saddam Hussein. Because, I mean, this is the original Gulf War time, 1991. Gene Graytack as Pope John Paul II. Cinematographer, for those who care, Bill Butler. Edited by James Curson and Eric A. Sears. Music by Sylvester LeVay. Distributed by 20th Century Fox. Release date was July 31st, 1991. It had a budget of $26 million. A box office of $181.1 million. That is 403.3 in 2023. That's a lot of threes.
Back to some more outstanding numbers when it comes to the box office.
Yes, that's an outstanding number, considering the disparity between the cost and how much it made.
Yeah, holy cow.
$181 million in 1991. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
5 years prior than the two movies we just covered, it made an extra like 70 million on top of those combined.
It did. Cow. That's insane, really, to think of. You put it in that type of scope. That's insane to think about. Honestly, you can stream this one on Amazon, or you can own it. Good luck buying the Blu-ray though, because it's discontinued and it's like $45.
Yeah,
so
I could not find it anywhere to buy easily.
No, I ended up buying it off of eBay, a DVD copy from. It was a discontinued DVD. I think it's from like 1999 or something like that. So it was only $4. So it wasn't like super expensive, but it's only a DVD, not a Blu-ray. So.
Otherwise, it's on Prime for free?
Prime for free.
Nice.
Streaming for free on Prime.
I just had to buy Tommy Boy on Prime, but it was like $3.50 or something. Totally worth it.
Well worth it. Trav, will you hit me with that outro?
Yeah, man. I'm excited to get to that one, too, because it stays at the premise of this podcast, because I have not seen Hot Shots.
It's great.
So, yeah, let's get into these emails here. First one is from For the Love of God, wants to know, what's the next Chris Farley movie you're excited to cover?
Well, I mean, Black Sheep.
Black Sheep.
That'd be a really good one. I can't wait to cover that one. Besides Black Sheep, what else? Was it American Ninja, L.A. Ninja,
Beverly
Hills Ninja.
Yeah.
It's not a great movie, but I would love to do that on this podcast.
And I remember watching it when I was a kid, so I must not have thought it was bad when I was a kid.
I feel like it came out in like 97, because he passed away in
97 or 98, one of the two, I think.
I think it might, we've looked this up before. It was one of the last movies he made before he passed away. I remember seeing it in the theater. I feel like I saw it in the theater. Like I saw it at the downtown theater when it was still Cine 4.
Yeah.
Like I think I saw it in the theater here in town. But yes, that either one of those two, I can't wait. How about you?
I wrote down Black Sheep because, again, I think I've probably only seen it once. What do you think's better, having seen them both?
So Tommy Boy and Black Sheep kind of fall underneath that Casino and Goodfellas type of thing. It depends on which one you saw first.
Okay.
For me, Tommy Boy is the better movie, is phenomenal, and Black Sheep is a knockoff of Tommy Boy, kind of. Like they're trying to recreate the same kind of thing.
Sure.
But so it just kind of depends on which one you saw first.
Because Black Sheep's like political setting.
Yes.
And Richard, or David Spade, is again the helper of the idiot, basically.
Yes. It's in Black Sheep, it's the senator. Chris Farley plays the senator's brother, and David Spade plays the senator's like top aide.
Okay,
so it's like the same thing.
Yeah. So definitely Black Sheep. I also wrote Almost Heroes, the one.
Oh yes, I've never seen that.
Oh, there we go. Him and Matthew Perry. So we'll definitely have to get to both of those eventually.
Was that movie an instance where they had to use body doubles to finish it? Because didn't he die during the production of that movie?
I really don't know. I've seen it a lot, but I never paid attention to that. But it'd be interesting to figure out.
Yeah, it would be interesting to figure out.
Next email here comes from I'll Give You a Crew Cut. Says, I know this is a 2000s question, but what was your favorite cell phone you had when you were younger?
Well, when I got my first flip phone, that was, I don't remember, it was a Samsung something or other. I never had a Razor. Never. Everybody
Same.
had Razors. I never
Same.
had a Razor. I had it was my first flip phone that I really liked. It was cool. It was more functional as a phone than it was for texting and stuff like that. But when texting came, I got one of those phones that was vertical, sort of like the old Nokia, but you flip it on its side and slide it up for the keyboard, right?
Yeah.
That was a really cool one. And then that first generation Android phone, I had that one, the Motorola Droid. I got that one because Kristen won one.
Nice.
In when they came out, so it was circa 2007, 2008. It was right when we first started getting together. She had to go to Verizon to pay her cell phone bill. She had a business card with her. They had one of those fish bowls where it was win a new phone. And she won. They pulled her card out of it. So she got a free phone. I had to buy my phone because we were just dating at the time. So those 3 phones.
Nice.
How about you,
awesome.
Man?
I put a Helio.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you even remember,
I
but
do.
that's the same kind of thing, the sliding up in it. I remember that was my first phone that had internet.
Yeah, that internet phone.
And I got some deal through GameStop when I worked there to have a Helio. So.
Oh, you used to be able to buy cell phones there. Can you still buy cell phones there?
I mean, not too long ago, I saw they still had tablets and that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure. For a little while, they were pushing buying people's used stuff.
They were.
But now I don't know if they're selling it or if they just wanted to get some mass inventory of it. Or...
Who's buying used tablets and stuff? I'm not buying used tablets. And no offense, GameStop, if I'm going to go buy a new tablet, I'm more likely to buy it from Target or Best Buy or Amazon, or even go to Verizon and buy it through them, through my cell phone provider. But
agreed.
Yes.
Next email is from 6-Cylinder Turbo Boost. Wants to know, what was the first car you owned or drove?
So first car I drove was a 1996 Pontiac Transport.
Nice.
Red with the gray bottom plastic, the wedge ones. It was a wedge. It was the coolest thing ever, man. 3.8 liter 6-cylinder.
6-cylinder.
Yeah. All the seats would come out so I could pile all my friends in there. Yeah, that was the first car I drove. The first car I owned was a 1988 Toyota Corolla SR5. So it had the 1.8 liter 4-cylinder instead of the 1.2.
Oh, man, that is awesome.
That car only had AM radio.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
That car,
not nice, but
it was kind of, actually, that car, honestly, to talk about something serious for a moment, inspired my love of radio.
Oh,
It really did. I was always kind of into radio, but having only AM, opened me up to all these other shows that I would have never listened to, talk radio specifically.
So potentially, if you never had this car, we wouldn't be here right now doing this.
It's a potential thing,
That's
butterfly
crazy.
effect. I have a picture of it. I want to find it. I think my mom has it still. Because when I bought the car, you got to do the pose next to it.
Obviously.
I was really into 80s hair metal at the time. And Poison had come to Mankato. And of course, I bought their concert tee.
Obviously.
So there's a badass picture of me with a bowl cut wearing a it was black with neon green writing on it, Poison t-shirt,
dude,
jean shorts, and I'm pretty sure I was wearing some Nike slides or something like that, circa 2000-ish.
The look.
Whoo, boy, maybe even knee-high socks.
That's what I'm talking about.
I want to try to find that picture. I'm going to ask my mom about it. We're going to find that picture.
Nice.
We're going to find that. How about you, man?
So first one I drove was a mid to late 90s Jeep Cherokee that my dad had that was definitely going off the deep end already. And the first one that I owned was a 1996 Dodge Spirit.
Nice.
Maroon, great, awesome car. No power, no gusto.
Yeah.
But damn, did that thing get good gas mileage.
Yeah.
I remember one time just being stupid with Wade and my other friends driving in New Ulm and trying to purposely hit these snow banks that were out into the road, and it made me do a straight out 720 or a 1080 and just snow flying everywhere. And then the next day the car wouldn't start or something, I think, and then my dad went out and lifted up the hood and there was just full of snow from going sucking up into the grill, and I had to act like I had no idea how that.
Oh, kids with some snowballs or something.
Don't tell me you don't fucking know. They just get under the hood. Like, shout out, Dad. Love you, Dad.
Did you have a name for that car?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I just called her the Spirit. Well, I guess so, kind of.
So kind
Dodge
of.
Spirit.
So the Pontiac, well, I called it the spicy cheese because it was like,
Nice.
you know, it's a slice of cheese that was red, spicy cheese. And then the Corolla was the urban cowboy.
Dude.
So I had this straw cowboy hat, and whenever I drove it, I wore the straw cowboy hat. It's the urban cowboy.
Oh, man. Listening to Poison.
Yes.
Got your jean shorts on.
With the tape deck for the CD player, you know, you put the tape.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Listening to Poison.
Oh, man.
Rocking out. No, better yet, I think I even like burned or like ripped CDs to cassette tapes, so I didn't have to worry about the CDs
Oh,
skipping.
my gosh.
Pretty sure that's what I did. I'm sorry. I digress.
We got Drew back in his element here.
back in the element.
So the last one here is my question for Drew. So now that you have your own little Tommy boy slowly creeping up on 1 year old, is there any TV show, movie, game, or anything that you're extra excited for to do with Cam that maybe you think Evie wouldn't be interested in, or you're just not even trying with Evie?
So with Evie, I try to expose her to all my interests. You know, I try to be like, let's do this. If she wants to do it, we do it, and then a lot of it will fall off, especially like the really boy stuff, you know? So mostly that's what I'm excited for is like doing that boy stuff and like watching boy shows with him and like playing boy games and like being able, like Evie likes to wrestle and like likes to be, you know, roughhouse and stuff. But it's still not the same because you can't really roughhouse with your daughter the same. But I'm already roughhousing with my nearly 6-month-old. Like, honestly, Kristen will say, "You're being too rough with him." I'm like, no. He's a boy.
Yeah, I'm toughing him up.
He's a boy. I'm going to be a little rough with him.
Only got 364 more days till next year's hockey trial.
Right, exactly. So, yes, mostly it's like just the boy stuff, like exposing him to the same stuff that I liked as a kid.
Sure.
Playing trucks, you know, cars, video games to more of an extent, I'm going to assume. Not necessarily like I shouldn't really assume that, you know, but you know, video games a little bit more and stuff like that, but boy stuff.
Definitely.
Just as a blanket statement, boy stuff.
I like it. So yeah, thanks for listening, people. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Overdue Homework Podcast. And as we said multiple times throughout this episode, please email us at overduehomeworkpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, make sure you tune in to the next exciting episode of the Overdue Homework Podcast.